Hello again, this is Ken Chitwood, Director of the Link Bible Institute, here to lead you through another online installment of our World Religions class. This time we're going to be talking about Yoruba religion. This is probably a religion many, particularly in the United States, many from a Christian background know very little about. In fact, my experience with Yoruba religion was limited to that which I knew either through pop culture or some limited research I did several years ago into Vodun or voodoo in the Caribbean and in Louisiana and in West Africa. And some conversations with diviners or some conversations with Nigerian pastors coming from Nigeria and West Africa. So very spotty information. I've never done a full kind of total study of Yoruba. So this has also been an enlightening process for me. Part of it that I ask as you go here is to understand that my pronunciation of some of the words may not be accurate. If you're an expert in Yoruba religion, please feel free to correct me in the pronunciation. That's one thing that I know that I'll struggle with. However, it's been a fascinating journey for me not only to read Prothero's chapter on Yoruba religion, but also to seek out other sources and to read more at our Rice University Library here in Houston. And I must say that Rice has a sufficient collection of books on Yoruba religion and its many variations, particularly North American and South American variations. So very interesting stuff. This is just an introduction, just to kind of whet your appetite in a way to understand Yoruba religion and to understand it as a significant world religion, not only here in Houston, but in the world, as Stephen Prothero argues. Now, each religion we study, of course, we study according to its problem, solution, technique, and exemplar. According to Prothero, the problem of Yoruba religion is disconnection from yourself, disconnection from the divine, from heavenly beings, the spirit world, disconnection from other human beings here on earth. And so the solution is reconnection, to become reconnected with the spiritual force of the world, to be reconnected with the deities of the world, to be reconnected with other human beings, and to be reconnected with your destiny. Now you do this through ritual and orisha divination. The divination comes first. You're divining what ritual you are to do, what things you are to take care of, what offerings, sacrifices you're supposed to make in order to reconnect yourself or discover your destiny. And so very quickly the orishas become exemplars, for they are the ones who can best communicate what needs to happen in terms of connection and reconnecting. Of course, there are diviners. They're not exactly exemplars. They're more mediums to understand the orisha's will, the orisha's notes on reconnecting. So they're not exactly exemplars as much as they are communicators of the orisha's message. Now, reframing this a little bit, I want to go a little bit more into what the disconnection and the reconnection really mean. Now, the disconnection is something of forgetting our destiny, that we're disconnected from ourselves and others. So we forget the destiny that we have as an individual, we forget the destiny that we have as a tribe or a clan, as a nation, as a city, as a whole race, as a whole type of animal. We just forget our destiny. Now, the Yoruba religious practitioners believe in a reincarnation of sorts. Now, when we die, we go into the spiritual world. We kind of understand all of a sudden that the spiritual world exists. We're fully connected with the spiritual world. But upon rebirth, upon being reborn, we tend to forget our destiny. And so from the time we are born, the hope is that we will reconnect with our destiny and reconnect with the orishas and reconnect with the spiritual world. And so we recover our destiny in the solution, reconnecting with ourselves and others, whether they be human or whether they be divine. Of course, as we'll see, there's not much difference sometimes between the human and the divine in Yoruba religion. And so, as mentioned, with birth comes forgetting. Throughout life, we're called to remember, to recover our destiny so that we can do what we were created to do for ourselves, our families, and the world. Okay, so you see this kind of universal dimension to Yoruba religion. It starts with ourselves, doing what we're destined to do in our own lives. That, of course, is not something that's sectioned off from the rest of our life. We are interconnected in a way with our families and with the world, with our tribe, with our clan, with people in other countries, people all over the world, and also with the divine. There's this connection, spectrum of spiritual connection, the foundation of which is Asha, which we'll talk about. And the way we do this is through Orisha divination. We're divining the Orisha's message, the Orisha's words, the Orisha's will for us to reconnect with our destiny. And that's kind of what we're going to focus our study on. We're going to look at the Orishas. We're going to look at how you divine the Orisha's message and some of the things you do to reconnect to your destiny, to reconnect to others, reconnect with the world. Now the Orishas, you can't say they're gods in the clearest sense. For in the Yoruba cosmos, sacred power is just permeating through everything. As Prothero puts it, the Yoruba cosmos is awash in sacred power. And so this world is just kind of a thin sheath that kind of guards us from the very sacred power inherent in everything, which they'll call Asha. And now Asha isn't necessarily spiritual good stuff. It's good and it's evil. It's connection, it's disconnection. It's just the spiritual power that is at work in this world and everything, plants and animals and rivers and mountains and human beings and deities. And so don't think of Orishas as a different category of being. Just think of them as a different point on the spectrum of spiritual connection. So Orishas are very connected with the spiritual. In fact, they're said to be probably more spiritual than humans. However, the idea in Yoruba religion is to be a very spiritual human. So much so that sometimes very spiritual humans, when they die, become kind of deified. They become orishas rather than just kind of remembered as dead humans, dead ancestors, although ancestors can still communicate in this spiritual world. Now there are just spirits as well, not quite orishas, but spirits that linger. Okay, there are malevolent spirits, ajogun. They're the ones causing problems in this world. And then there's ancestor spirits, ngungun. And these ancestor spirits, these malevolent spirits, still interacting with the world. However, they're not orishas. They don't necessarily know the will of the most respected orisha, Oludumare, who we'll talk about here in just a second. These orishas are the kings and queens of the spiritual world. They really know what's going on. They understand the Asha, the spirit world, and how it interacts and how you can connect with it and how you connect with your destiny and all of that. They know these things, whereas the spirits don't necessarily know these things, but they can either help or hinder you along the way. And so without further ado, who are some of these orishas? Now, there's three types of orishas in the orisha pantheon. This picture here on your screen just shows a few. I mean, you've got, I think, 11 different orishas on this. This is only half the photo that I was looking at, and those aren't even all the orishas. On some count, there's like over 400 orishas. Others, there's like 200. Some, there's just like, 20, 30, 40. There's a lot of different opinions on how many orishas there are. Safe to say there's not just one or two or three. But there are three types. There are those who were present at creation. Okay, so they had a part in the creation, or they observed creation. There are second type of orishas, natural forces. Okay, those that are associated with mountains and rivers and lightning and those types of things. Shango is going to be one of those connected with lightning, a very popular orisha. Okay, then you're going to have deified ancestors. These are not ancestral spirits. These are actually ancestors who have been deified, who have said these ancestors, they really got the connection with the spiritual world, so much so that they have an understanding of destiny and understanding of reconnection. And so they're not only helping you along the way, they can actually guide you along the way. Keep in mind again that these orishas are not disconnected from the world. There are quote-unquote hairline cracks between the supernatural and the everyday, between the divine and the human in the Yoruba religious worldview. The words for divine and human, between kind of heaven and earth, you might say, heaven being Orun, O-R-U-N, and the human side of things being